The story of Dr. Dolittle. Once upon a time, many years ago, when our grandfathers were little children, there was a doctor and his name was Dolittle. John Dolittle, MD. MD means that he was a proper doctor and knew a whole lot. He lived in a little town called Puddleby on the Marsh. All the folks, young and old, knew him well by sight. And whenever he walked down the street in his high hat, everyone would say, "There goes the doctor. He is a clever man." And the dogs and the children would all run up and follow behind him. And even the crows that lived in the church tower would caw and nod their heads. The house he lived in, on the edge of the town, was quite small. But his garden was very large and had a wide lawn and stone seats and weeping willows hanging over. His sister, Sarah Dolittle, was housekeeper for him, but the doctor looked after the garden himself. So, in these three paragraphs, we speak about a person named Dolittle, Dr. Dolittle, MD. MD means he was a doctorate of medicines. He was very intelligent and he was a real good doctor. He lived in a small town. The town's name is Puddleby on the Marsh. And the people of the town really liked him a lot and they praised him whenever they saw him walk down the street. And they would say, "There goes the doctor, he's a clever man." And the dogs and the children would all run and follow him wherever he went. Even the crows that used to be sitting on the church tower, they would see him and they would start crowing. Crowing means they would start making a noise. The sound made by crows is caw. So they would caw and they would nod their heads. The house he lived on was a very small one, and it was at the edge of the town, to the end of the town. And he had a beautiful garden, a wide lawn, and stone seats, and beautiful creepers, green creepers that would grow up and had drooping leaves. So, those are called weeping willows. They used to be hanging all over. His sister, Sarah Dolittle, she used to take care of the house, whereas the doctor, he used to take care of the garden himself. So, carry on reading. He was very fond of animals and kept many kinds of pets. Besides the goldfish in the pond at the bottom of his garden, he had rabbits in the pantry, white mice in his piano, a squirrel in the linen closet, and a hedgehog in the cellar. He had a cow with a calf too, and an old lame horse, 25 years of age, and chickens and pigeons and two lambs, and many other animals. But his favorite pets were Dab Dab the duck, Jip the dog, Gub Gub the baby pig, Polynesia the parrot, and the owl, Toot Toot. So, in this paragraph, the description is there of all the various animals he had as pets in his house. But his favorite pets were Dab Dab the duck, Jip the dog, Gub Gub the baby pig, Polynesia the parrot, and the owl, Toot Toot. His sister used to grumble about all these animals and said they made the house untidy. And one day, when an old lady with rheumatism came to see the doctor, she sat on the hedgehog who was sleeping on the sofa and never came to see him any more, but drove every Saturday all the way to Oxenthorpe, another town 10 miles off, to see a different doctor. So, here in this paragraph, they tell us that his sister Sarah, she used to be annoyed because she used to see that the house was really untidy and dirty, all because of these animals. And one day, there was a patient, an old lady, suffering with rheumatism. Rheumatism is a medical condition where old people have a lot of pain in their knees, in their muscle joints all over. So she came to see doctor, but unfortunately, in the doctor's hall or in the living room, as she went inside, she went and sat on the sofa and jumped up immediately because what was on the sofa? There was a hedgehog sitting there. She just left the house immediately, never to come back to see Dr. Dolittle ever again. In fact, she prefers to go all the way 10 miles off the town to another town called Oxenthorpe to see a different doctor there. Then his sister, Sarah Dolittle, came to him and said, "John, how can you expect sick people to come and see you when you keep all these animals in the house? It's a fine doctor would have his parlor full of hedgehogs and mice. That's the fourth personage these animals have driven away. Squire Jenkins and the parson say they wouldn't come near your house again, no matter how sick they are. We are getting poorer every day. If you go on like this, none of the best people will have you for a doctor." So here Sarah comes to him and says, "John, how can you expect to have people coming to you when you have so many animals in the house? And besides, the house is full of hedgehogs, mice, and various kinds of animals. The people of this town would not like to come to you. In fact, they would prefer to go to another town that is around 10 miles away. And all the big shots of the town, all the rich people of the town, like Squire Jenkins and the parson, they are not willing to come home to get treated by you, no matter how sick they are." So she says that we are getting poorer every day. And she tells John that if you go on like this, then the best people of the house will not be coming over to our place, and they will not have you as a doctor for them anymore. "But I like animals better than the best people," said the doctor. "You are ridiculous," said his sister, and walked out of the room. So, as time went on, the doctor got more and more animals, and the people who came to see him got less and less, till at last he had no one left except the cat's meat man, who didn't mind any kind of animals. But the cat's meat man wasn't very rich, and he only got sick once a year, at Christmas time, when he used to give the doctor sixpence for a bottle of medicine. So the doctor tells Sarah that I like animals better than the people and the best of people of this town. But she was annoyed. She just said, "You are ridiculous," and she went out. So as the time goes on, nobody was coming to the doctor now. There was only one person, and that was the cat's meat man, the person who used to deliver the meat for the cat. And he used to come to get treated because he didn't mind any kind of animals. But he would never fall sick frequently. Hardly once a year he got sick, and that was at Christmas time. And he used to pay the doctor sixpence for a bottle of medicine. Sixpence at that time was an old British coin. Sixpence a year wasn't enough to live on, even in those days, long ago. And if the doctor hadn't had some money saved up in his money box, no one knows what would have happened. And he kept on getting still more pets, and of course, it cost a lot to feed them. And the money he had saved up grew little and littler. So here, sixpence in a year was not enough, not at all. And the doctor was living on all the money which he had saved up earlier. Plus, he kept getting more and more pets, and he had to feed them too. So the money was getting littler and littler. Then he sold his piano and let the mice live in a bureau drawer. But the money he got for that too began to go. So he sold the brown suit he wore on Sundays and went on becoming poorer and poorer. So now what happened? He even sold off his piano and where the mice used to live. So now the mice, they are living in the bureau drawer, a drawer that is usually kept in a study table. It's a writing desk. So now they have shifted their house from the piano to the bureau drawer, and all the money that he has got, that too gets finished. So he goes and he sells the brown suit which he used to wear on Sundays. This shows that the doctor was getting poorer and poorer. And now, when he walked down the street in his high hat, people would say to one another, "There goes John Dolittle, MD." There was a time when he was the best known doctor in the West Country. Look at him now, he hasn't any money and his stockings are full of holes. But the dogs and the cats and the children still ran up and followed him through the town, the same as they had done when he was rich. So now, as he walked down the street, the people of the town saw him and they started saying, "There goes Doctor, there goes John Dolittle, MD." And they talk about him that once upon a time he was a very rich man, but look at him now. He's gone so poor he doesn't have money, and his his stockings are a kind of socks that men wear, are full of holes. The only thing that didn't change was the dogs and the cats and the children. They still ran up and followed him through the town, the same as they had done before when he was a rich man. So it just shows that the dogs, cats, and children, it doesn't matter to them whether he's rich or poor. They still do the same what they used to do when he was a rich man earlier. Okay, children, we wind up with this lesson over here for today's session, and I'll complete the lesson in the next session. Please go through the reading once again and enjoy this story. Okay, bye bye.